Okay, well, hello and welcome everybody to this edition of Hunting for Silver Linings. Today is Wednesday, June 9, here in the Great Lakes of the United States. I'm the chapter director for Grand Rapids, Michigan. My name is Corey Hart, and I'm so excited to be joined by a director over in Estonia. And would you do us the favor of introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about like what what turned you into an entrepreneur in the first place?
Sure. First of all, thanks for inviting me. My name is Engin Kaban, and well, I wear different hats actually. I try to define myself as a traveler by passion, engineer by education, and entrepreneur by occupation. So, which means technically I'm an engineer. I studied mechanical engineering with a master's in innovation studies. And I have been traveling a lot since my university days and been around a lot. Even quitted my engineering job to travel more. So that's the passion part. And yeah, I'm going very fastly, but then we can go in more details. And yeah, lately I have my own startup, which is in travel industry, obviously. Hello, Experto. I'm the founder of the startup, and I am the chapter director for Startup Grind Tallinn, Estonia. So that's the very brief introduction from my side.
Right, yeah. And you're a fairly recent addition to our batch of for our team of directors, right? You started towards the end of 2020.
Yes, exactly.
But that wasn't the beginning of you helping, supporting, and mentoring startups and entrepreneurs and founders. Like you have a fairly long history in that capacity, right?
Yeah, I try to be an active member in the community. Actually, the community is not also geographically limited for me because I have also been living in different places. I got into the community of Startup Grind when I was living in Barcelona, actually, because yeah, you know, there is a great community there. So that there I got to know the values and everything. And my connection with Estonia is actually, technically, I'm not located in Estonia. I am an e-resident of Estonia, which we can go in more detail. It is an opportunity from the government that gives anyone in the world, any nationality, to create an Estonian company. That's great for entrepreneurs, startups. I can tell more about that. So I created my company in Estonia. So I am connected with that ecosystem, and I also go for events to Estonia, obviously. And to my surprise, although Estonia is such an startup-friendly country and has lots of things, has a great community and everything, I realized Startup Grind did not exist there. I was really surprised to see that. It used to exist before. There was a chapter, a Tallinn chapter, which last time it was active was end of 2018, I think. So about 2.5 years ago when I realized that. And then, yeah, I applied to be the director, and yeah, I'm trying to contribute to the society as much as I can.
Well, that's awesome. I think specifically with Estonia and the programs that they have, government support being a great landing pad for Europe. What we have seen in our conversations this last year and a half through Hunting for Silver Linings is that now is the best time ever to get plugged into this Startup Grind network as far as a chapter director to be able to help foster those kinds of transitions. Because the trade of capital and innovation is just like, it's amazing to see. And to have someone like yourself as a guide and a host to help people find faster, easier, better ways to start up their companies. It's just you're going to be doing you might be a very busy man. So, like, who knows?
Well, I like being busy, like most of us in entrepreneurs. We put
Yeah.
ourselves in this business voluntarily, basically.
Right. So if you're not sitting in Tallinn, where are you now?
In Turkey.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah, and I'm Turkish, by the way. I didn't mention that.
and all right, now let's talk a little bit about this ecosystem. There are like thousands of startups, or just over, almost well, maybe maybe not thousands, but maybe I read like 1,300 startups in Estonia right now that are being tracked, actively tracked. The amount of fundraising that's been done first quarter of 2021 has blown away any other previous year, almost by 10x. The average fundraise was over 10 million euro. That's insane. It's just wild. So, what are some of these hot sectors that are fueling this at the moment?
And to mention also, the numbers you said are very correct, but maybe it doesn't make sense for everyone because they don't seem like big numbers. But we should mention that we are talking about a country which has 1.3 million people. So when you compare with the population and everything, then it makes more sense. Yeah, they created this startup database last year, through which they really track very closely all the startups from Estonia. And as you said, it is 1,000 plus, 1,300, around that number. So anyone can go to that database. Actually, the thing I like a lot with Estonia is everything is transparent, but extremely transparent. You can check lots of details, which would be even private information in many countries. You can access lots of information about any company. You just go there, and you don't have to be a government person or anything. So they make everything transparent. And yeah, the numbers are crazy. They in Estonia, it is known as there are 6 unicorns that came out from Estonia, and that's also a big number because, again, compared with the population. And yeah, this makes it all of this combined. This makes it a great ecosystem for new people to start their businesses, actually, because the whole ecosystem gives a lot of support from government side and from the ex startuppers who some of them turned to investors at the moment. It accelerates the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, when I was speaking with the chapter director of I just had similarly small countries. They explain how, yeah, we're, it's just 1 million people, 2 million people, so we kind of know, it's everything,
Yeah.
everything's really connected, and a lot of support and a lot of mentorship, and then also, like you said, the ex-startuppers, they're really excited about not just mentoring, but funding the next startups and the next innovation. That's it's really inspiring to see. And then a lot of larger ecosystems are just trying to figure out how to make that happen for them too. So
exactly. And since it's a small country, I think it also makes it easier to do tests easily, and to be more agile, and to make changes, to pivot. Everything is easier when you compare with larger institutions and larger governmental stuff and big countries. For example, the response to COVID from Estonia was really, really good since from the beginning, because there is already the technological background and already the mindset for being very digital. How it is promoted like digital nation, #digital nation. So there's already the mindset already existed before COVID. So with pandemic, things didn't really change in a bad way. It was very easy to adapt. and continue what's going on, actually, even better.
Yeah, so while many ecosystems had to spend that time digitizing their businesses, right? Your ecosystem was able to just, they're like, hey, we're already doing it this way. So you had that extra time and momentum already behind you. So rather than digitization being an industry, I know fintech is big. What are the other big like sectors that have seen a lot of improvement? Would it be like health tech, ed tech? Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's fintech is really big, and in cyber security there is also a lot of investment, and most accelerators and most programs or investors, they try to support more B2B and SaaS companies, so as a kind of vertical. But yeah, there's the one of the latest unicorns from Estonia was Pipedrive, which is also which I hosted also the founder of Pipedrive actually in the earlier this year.
So I just want to introduce my colleague Yorgo here, the second half of Hunting for Silver Linings. So Engin, this is Yorgo.
Hi, Engin. I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry, we had some technical difficulties here with the internet, but everything is fine now.
Yeah, hello. Nice to meet you. No problem.
Same here. Thank you for joining us.
So yeah, Yorgo, we were just speaking about a little bit about his background and history, the fact that he lives in Turkey, but is a chapter director over in Estonia, and we were speaking about how the Estonian ecosystem is just really busy, and also how they skipped the need to focus on digitization through the pandemic and had a head start over a lot of other ecosystems. And that's where you just joined us, is where we were talking about the different sectors that have been springboarded out of that.
Well, of course. I mean, if you know European history, particularly after World War II, you will see that Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania suffered significantly. And after 1989, essentially you have a tremendous growth. The academic institutions had a significant input in the know-how of development of software developers, mathematicians, and so on and so forth, which fostered the development of the internet.
Exactly, and they needed to make a decision, and as a strategy, they chose to, in order as a country to survive, they chose to go the technological and innovative way. That's all the, as you mentioned, that's all the backgrounds of where they are now and where they are hoping to be in the near future. Everything from an innovative mindset. That's how they founded these e-governmental systems, which function very smoothly. That's where the e-residency came from. That's where, and also one thing that is always mentioned is that, for example, as we mentioned, it is a 1.3 million country, population country, but not so small either. So there is a lot of people who are living in rural areas in the forest. And for the government, it was practically impossible, or would be too expensive, to deliver governmental services to people who live in the forest, let's say 10 people in an isolated area. So instead of trying to do it in the traditional way, they decided to do it digitally. So they can do anything, absolutely anything, online. So that's also another reason of this digitalization of the country.
That's awesome. So I am curious. I want to ask you a little bit about your experience. Okay, so you live outside of the country, and you're tending to this flock of entrepreneurs in Estonia. Pandemic wise, it's been fairly easier, maybe because it's all digital. Pre-pandemic, were you doing live events in Estonia there as the chapter director?
No, because I already became the chapter director in the middle of the pandemic, actually, end of last year. So I wasn't doing live events before. But during pandemic, as we all know, everything is digital and it is very easy to organize these things. And I feel I'm quite connected with the ecosystem, actually, because we have our own Slack group, for example, for Estonian community builders. So people, for example, there I am representing Startup Grind. There are people from the government, there are people from other institutions. So through Slack, we are always in touch. And then there are lots and lots of online events happening around. So the community is already connected. And there have been several startup conferences, some big ones, all have been turned to digital lately. And yeah, as we mentioned in the beginning, no problems at all. Everything works just fine.
Do you plan on doing some live events in the coming months or year?
Yeah, definitely. I will definitely do this.
All right. Well, I know Yorgo and I might be guests at some point. You never know.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Since you are so connected to the whole ecosystem, maybe you could enlighten us a little bit about what are the feelings, what is the general sentiment, what is the mindset at this moment for the next 6 months, 1 year? Are there specific focuses that like ecosystem focuses that everyone is aligned on?
Talking about pandemic, things are starting to go back to, I don't like to say this word normal, but let's say pre-pandemic situations. So the events, the conferences are planned for the following months to be in person. And there have already, for example, next week, there is already one meeting of startup ecosystem in Tallinn, planned for in Tallinn to be in person. So things are going back to in-person events. And in terms of investment, as you also mentioned in the beginning, the numbers did not really go down. The sectors already already continue to flourish and to expand. So there has not been much disadvantage with the global situation. And according to numbers, things are even better than earlier years or earlier quarters from the previous years. So my personal opinion, okay, the whole world is experiencing something very big in some level or another. And of course, Estonia is part of that. But I can say it is not really kicked too bad, at least talking from the startup ecosystem, it is not really kicked too bad to negatively, and it is coming back in an agile and fast way. That's how I see it. People are more optimistic. They already miss being in person, but yeah, I see people are quite optimistic.
Engin, a question that I have, I mean, Tallinn is about 500,000 population, right?
Yeah.
You obviously have expats from the former Eastern Europe who live there, businesses and so on and so forth. How big is your ecosystem and in which areas is it active? In which sectors is it most active?
Well, sector-wise, as we were already mentioning, there is the cybersecurity, there is the lots of SaaS companies, B2B SaaS companies are very active. And in Fintech, there are lots of important companies as well.
Within cybersecurity and SAS, what are the applications? Are you talking about the infrastructure? Are you talking about critical infrastructure? Are you talking about home delivery, supermarkets? What are the I mean, I understand the technology sector that you mentioned, but within these, what are the applications that have been developed?
Well, for example, the brand Boyd is from Estonia, which is in the mobility sector, and then there is Pipedrive, which is basically a SaaS company which operates in that area, and Skype is known as an Estonian company, although it is a mix of Estonian and Swedish, but it is known as one of the first unicorn of Estonia, actually. And ex-Skype people also reinvest in the community. So it is also the very beginning of the whole ecosystem from around 10 years back. That's how it started. Sorry?
I said that this is very interesting, that the original Skype mafia decided to come back and reinvest and rebuild the ecosystem. I mean, that is wonderful. This is something what we keep seeing all around the world. The successful entrepreneurs go back to their roots and they find the next generation.
Exactly. Also TransferWise, now they rebranded to Wise, but they used to be known as TransferWise. It is also an Estonian company, although right now they moved their headquarters to UK, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But again, their origin is from there, which is basically a very successful fintech company.
Which of course brings the question that, given the fact that the ecosystem is small in numbers, it had to become international very early on, right? So the scope of business had to be, in terms of applications, going beyond the borders of Estonia.
Exactly. That's the mindset in Estonia and in Baltics in general, Latvia and Lithuania included, because all these three countries, they are very small. And the basic recommendation or the common sense for startuppers is to use their local market, let's say Baltics, these three countries, or sometimes including Poland and Eastern Europe, just as a test market. So because it is not a market, actually, it is where you can make tests with 1 to 5 million people. And then like the MVP, and to begin with, if things work, and then you go to Eastern Europe, and then you go to rest of Europe, United States, wherever you want to go. So it is a great test market, because not only because it is small, but also that people are open. So the proportion of early adapters you would find in the average society is quite high. So if you come up with a new idea, a consumer thing, or it can be a consumer thing or a B2B, the adoption is quite fast. So you can easily test your idea there.
Well, of course, being a relatively cohesive community that is familiar with internet applications helps a lot. But let me ask you a different question. So the sources of capital for any startup, let's assume that Cora and I came to you and we have European passports, so we can stay in Tallinn, and we say, okay, we have a great idea about fin education. And this is the idea when we're looking for capital. How would we start? Would we go to the European funds applications? Or would we go to you as the head of Startup Grind and say, can you introduce us to angel investors?
Well, I would say as an early stage startup, the best way could be going to accelerator programs. There are great accelerator programs, and they are in the middle of the network. So they know a lot of people, relevant people, especially investors. So personally, I cannot say I am in a position to introduce to investors. I know some people, obviously, but the best way would be go through accelerators. And then there is EstBAN, which is Estonian Business Angel Networks, There is the same ban for Latvia, Lithuania also. They are all watching each other. So that's also a good place to look at if you don't want to go through an accelerator program like mentoring and stuff, but it is more finance focused. That can be a better option according to the needs of the startup, going directly to these business angel networks, and then continue further. And since, as we mentioned, it is such a small country, I mean, if you have a good idea, good product, or good team, it is, you will know people and people will know you. There is no other way. Everybody is connected in such a way. So the level of connection, as they say, this number 6 or something to know anyone in the world. I think in Estonia
Sure,
it would
6
be
degrees of separation. Yeah, sure.
yeah. I think in Estonia would be no more than 2, I guess.
Are these
Seriously.
accelerators, the accelerators that you mentioned, are they privately owned or are they government funded?
Privately owned. For example, I am part of one. I attended a pre-accelerator program from Startup Wise Guys. They started in Estonia, but they operate basically Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And I joined a pre-accelerator program with them. And there are some other ones. This is one of the best known. And governmental owned, there is the institution which is Startup Estonia, but it does not function as an accelerator program. It is like a roof, let's consider it as a roof organization, which connects all the players in the whole ecosystem. So they don't invest or they don't give money or, yeah, they don't do these things, but they are good at connecting things. They are part of the government, basically, and then they have under different functions according to the needs.
Thank you. That's very, very informative. I mean, Estonia has always been on the top list of innovators and outward looking for many, many years. And as you correctly said, the first unicorn being Skype, it created a whole buzz of ideas and collaborations over the last 20 years. On the fintech, one of the applications, I mean, of course, payment systems are another area where Estonia has been very heavily involved. Can you talk to us a little bit about the fintech sector? What is going on there?
I cannot say I'm very specialized in this sector, but as I mentioned, TransferWise is a big player there, and I know there are other ones, but personally, I don't have deep knowledge about that specific vertical. To be sincere.
Thank you.
Well, I would be interested in learning a little bit more about the industry within which you are an expert. And so travel and travel tech, these are starting to get a bit of a buzz since borders are opening. A lot of innovations happened within travel. Trends last year, some countries saw a lot of travel like inside their borders, focus on slow travel, eco travel, and different airlines are responding with in different ways. Some of the larger global carriers are really optimistic about the next 6 months to 24 months. Your website, Travel Experto, right? Is that what that is, right?
Hello, Experto.
Hello, Experto. Sorry, Hello, Experto.
Yes.
So Hello, Experto is a marketplace for travel experts in any different kind of aspect of travel to connect people looking for that kind of information. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. It is a global community of travelers for sharing personalized travel advice through video calls. So the idea is to connect people in a platform, people who want to travel, who will travel, and on the other side, those who know a specific destination or a specific topic related with travel, and connect these two parties to exchange ideas, to have advice, but personalized advice. That's very important because I set it in a way that, because that's my personal experience. Not everyone needs the same type of advice. Everyone is different. Their style is very different. The budget, the preferences. So the idea is that the experts give advice according to the preferences of those people, and to make travel planning easier for those people, easier, faster, and ideally, as a result, they will spend less money because they will know more tips and tricks when they are in the pre-travel stage. So these people do not meet in the destination, as many people sometimes misunderstand. That's why I want to clarify that, because there are lots of already platforms who connect, let's say, a local guide, and you go and they show you around. It is not this kind of things. That is because there are different stages in travel. That is the exact travel stage. I'm concentrating in pre-travel. So when you're still at your home, you didn't take your flight or train, whatever, and then you already learn before going to the destination. So this also gives the flexibility to both sides to be anywhere in the world, because they connect through video calls.
That's really cool. One we did see in the travel space during the pandemic, there was a lot of the people who weren't traveling were still planning travels, right? Based on like the searches people are doing on your website and through your marketplace, what are some of the top trends that people are interested in learning about?
People definitely want to travel in a safer way these days. So that's quite a priority. I mean, safer in terms of hygiene and all this COVID thing. And then they want to travel more in an individual way. That is also in line with the general trends globally, because already before pandemic, the trends in travel was going to in a direction where people want to have experiences, more personal experiences instead of mass tourism. And I can say that pandemic just accelerated that. It was already going in that direction. It just accelerated that. And therefore people want to have more, they want to have something unique and authentic experience. They don't want to be so much with lots of other people in the same space. They need more physical space and maybe like mental space, so to say. So this kind of things people are searching more. And obviously lately people are going to nearer places, because most of us, we cannot really do international travel. But that will obviously change. That will not stay that way. But I think personal experiences will be on the rise more and more.
For your platform, Yorgo?
I was going to ask, are you revenue generating? Are you pre-revenue? Are you still building the platform?
It is pre-revenue at the moment. So I have the functional MVP. There are already experts, and there are more than 50 listings on the platform. So right now, since it is a marketplace, I am focused on the supply side at the moment, to have more experts registered on the platform and create more listings, and then continue more promoting on the consumer side, the demand side. And yeah, right now, since we are coming to the summer season is beginning, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, and the borders are starting to open. So it is a great time to promote it to consumers at the moment.
In terms of the capital, have you put your capital yourself? Is friends and family, or have you already gone to outside investors?
Yeah, it is FFF, friends and family. That's how I am supporting it.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Thanks a lot.
When you've been working to acquire your experts, is this through a personal network, or Like how are people finding you? Because as you said, there are no shortage of websites that you can host people and cook dinner for them in your apartment. You can take them on a tour of graffiti around your city. You can all these different
Exactly.
websites you can find to do experiences. And Airbnb, which is the largest global player in all this fun stuff, a couple of years ago, they were actually looking at experiences, taking the bulk of their revenue generation in the future as opposed to stays. So yeah,
Yeah.
what's your strategy there?
And then with pandemic, they introduced online experiences on top
Yeah.
of physical experiences. So yeah, as you mentioned, every player is doing something and they are attacking a specific niche. So where I want to make a difference is pre-travel, and that's the main part, because not many of those platforms are concentrated on pre-travel. There are, but not so much as during the travel stage. And your other question was?
How are you sourcing? How are people
Yeah,
finding
yeah.
as experts?
Yeah, sure. First, I started with personal contacts because I have a background. I didn't mention that so much, but I have a background of 10 plus years as a travel writer and travel blogger. So I created a community of travelers in Turkey in 2008, which became a very big community, and we have been all around in the news and all around. And then through that, I also created another blog, which was in English. And I have been attending lots of travel blogging conferences all around the world. So through all these, I know lots of people in the industry as bloggers, as travelers, as experts of any kind. I started with those personal contacts. And of course, word of mouth, and to have an organic growth strategy, I am always asking people to advise me more people to join. So that's how I started to have my first people in the community, personal contacts and contacts of contacts, in short.
And then what kind of are we starting to see some inbound traffic, some connections being made that are not based on the marketing of your experts? Are people finding your experts organically?
Yes, slowly it is starting. I cannot say there is really big traffic at the moment, but yeah, people are finding it, and I try to connect with them personally, especially those people who find in an organic way. I send them a short email to understand how they found me, because that's very important to understand the resource of the traffic, resource of the new people. And also another thing I am doing is, with each potential expert, I am doing a personal video call, a 15-minute video call, to understand them, to kind of verify them, especially if it is not someone that I personally know or trust, to verify, and then to explain and to hear their suggestions and ideas. Because as you know, in startup ecosystem, doing things that do not scale, it is not a good thing, but it is a good thing if you can do things that don't scale when you can. So I can do it now with a small number of people, but when there will be thousands and thousands of experts on the platform, obviously there needs to be some other, let's say, semi-automatized solutions. Again, there will always be the verification system, but I don't think I can talk personally 15 minutes, half an hour with each expert. That will be difficult. But that is something that I'm very, very putting emphasis on, to keep a good quality of the platform and the users, basically.
What I was going to ask you, Engin, on the particular application that you're building, what are your sources of revenue? Is it going to be advertising? Is it going to be other travel companies? What do you see your unique entry point?
commissions from paid transactions. So in the platform, travel experts have the option to create free consultancy or paid consultancy. So they can do either of them. If it is free, basically there is no revenue, but that brings in more users. And for paid consultancy, a commission will be charged. Since I am still at the early stage, I don't charge commission at the moment to create more, to have more users, but that will be something around 20% of commissions charged from transactions. And on top of that, later on, there is always these options of affiliate marketing, advertisement, all these things. But I am not concentrated on those at the moment. The main is the commissions.
If I was a large hotel chain in Miami, how could I benefit from your website?
Okay, very good questions, because that's also something that I have been thinking about, to have a kind of B2B integration in the system. There is, right now you cannot, short answer, but in the future I am thinking of integrating hotels. Maybe if kind of hotels can have some packages both from the platform, and I can anyone who is staying in the hotel, they can get a free consultancy from an expert in Miami. So hotel will pay me and I will arrange a expert to their customers. This kind of cooperations are under my focus. And also there are also people who want to join as experts, but they represent a travel agency. That is very common. And then they are trying always naturally put the logo of their agency, put their website, but that is not my focus at the moment, because I'm trying to connect people with people. But since I see there is a big demand on that, a tendency and a potential as well, I want to create a connection with agencies, with people as well, to not to sell things, but to give them advices. But as a company, that might be also an additional. But since at the early stage, I don't want to have so many specifications, so many differentiation. I want to focus on the initial idea.
One of the reasons that I was thinking about this question is because I can see the old way. If you remember, when you go to any city, the first thing you do when you arrive in a hotel is there a tour guide? Are there tours here? And so on and so forth. Is an expert who can tell me where to go to eat, where to go and see, where to buy clothes for my wife, and this and that and the other, depending, of course, on the city where you are. So it would make a lot of sense if you have this kind of collaboration at arm's length between residences and individual other service providers. That could be a very, very good way of building the ecosystem. And then on another way, yeah, go ahead.
And how do you think it is the best way to construct the connection, as I mentioned, or do you have some other idea? I would like to know.
My first impression is that you need to get on your airplane. In other words, you would need to go personally to, well, first of all, go to specific chains, identify areas where you want to build bridges. Given the fact that you are in Estonia, you have a wonderful market covering the Nordics. That is a wonderful market. As you know, 20, 30, 40% of the beaches in Mediterranean are covered by Nordics, right? So what you could do is you could build relationships with, first of all, the airlines or the package airlines and or tour guides, individuals who have expertise in Costa del Sol, in Lisboa, in Saragossa, in Malta, and so on and so forth. And for instance, here in the US, what I was thinking while you're talking about your project is to list your company on our website and introduce you to hotel chains, or help you come in contact with event managers in Miami, in San Francisco, in San Diego, Los Angeles, and so on and so forth.
I see. Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Yeah, get to travel again. So like, get to, uh, yeah, the desire for anybody who's brick and mortar stuck in, like if they are stuck in Barcelona because, well, I mean they're a hotel, they're really trying to always just get that customer earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. And since that's your space, the planning stages, that's yeah, that's a great play.
Well, there's two aspects. One is the pre-travel, so to speak, organization and arrangement. And some people are very good at organizing things before they fly so that they know what they're doing when they arrive to their destination. But on the other hand, there's not much to be said about once you land, you don't have any plan and you want to find things on your own way. So you can have an adventure, quote unquote. And this is, I think, where you can also make a difference. You can alert event organizers that charter flights are picking up again. You can come in contact with hotel chains all around the Eastern Mediterranean. If you go to Bodrum or Kusadasi and you talk to the big hotel chains, the big travel groups there, you can collaborate with them, right?
Exactly. There is potential in, as you mentioned, different profiles of people. Some people don't know what they are doing, as you mentioned. That is one target group, and those to assist them, to help them do what they want to do in a better way, in an easier way. That's another thing. Exactly.
Well,
And the idea came from my own experience as well, that I realized lots of people who need consultancy advice, let's call it advice, they ask people around them. I have been asked many times through friends and family for advice because they think, they believe that I know something about travel. And I realized it from many other experienced travelers. So why cannot we monetize our knowledge and while helping those people? That's where the idea came from.
I think
it's
this
fun.
is a wonderful idea. I think this is, if you tweak it properly, but you have to clock a lot of air miles. I think your background as a travel writer reminds me of my early days when I was a student. I was a tour guide. I've worked in a number of countries as a tour guide, and I realized that most people, even if they think they know something, they know very little. The only thing they have is echoes of what they heard before and biases associated with that. So
True.
what is interesting is that you can really build this website to something formidable.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear your positive things.
Every founder wants to hear, like, get a thumbs up. It's like,
Yeah.
so,
But not necessarily only the positive things, of course.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
congratulations on your startup. On the marketplace. The marketplaces are not easy to develop. Startups themselves, of course, are not easy. So congratulations on that. Also, with the taking on of the chapter in Estonia. There, we're running up against the end of the hour here, and we normally have one or two final questions for people, which is standard. And before I do that, Yorgo, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, thanks for giving the opportunity.
Just
Yeah,
one thing before we yes, I actually have two questions for you. First of all, what was the most challenging effort, or rather the most challenging question you had to resolve when you started your own travel marketplace? And the second question is, how do you find the right team to work with you in building this marketplace?
First question, I have been asked, and I'm still being asked, the question why people would pay for that when Google is for free, basically, or any variation of this question that you can think of. And basically my answer is, it is again related with personalization, because I have been attending lots and lots of travel events, conferences, everything online, offline, physically, and which there was one pattern that I always saw in trends in travel, that travel will be more personalized. So that's my focus. That's why with one-to-one video calls, I'm trying to help people in that way. Since I'm a travel blogger as well, I know how those content is written. It is always written, prepared in a general way. It is practically impossible to define very niche, as unless you have a very niche blog or website, which is not so common. So this is first question. And in terms of team, actually, I'm a solo founder, which is not very positively appreciated in the ecosystem, as you very well know. But I started this journey this way, and I have people, like I have been working with freelancers so far and project-based, and but I am also at the point of creating a more permanent team slowly. That would also be a small call to action from my side for people who are listening. If anyone wants to join an exciting travel startup, just connect with me through hello@helloexperto.com, and because I will be creating a team these days and the following weeks. So that's a challenging part, definitely, create a great team. I cannot say that I have it right now, but hopefully very soon.
Well, if you're a solo founder, you've got a great team. So anything else, Yorgo?
No, thank you. I thank you, Engin, for taking the time to be with us today. A very interesting presentation.
Yeah, and so the last question here is, and you already had one asked there, but what else can the global network of Startup Grind chapter directors, ecosystem builders do for your chapter? What can we do for you?
All right. For me, as a Hello Experto, as I mentioned, looking for team members, and also looking for more travel experts in the platform. So anyone experienced in travel in a specific topic, again, they can get in touch with me through helloexperto.com. And community-wise, I'm promoting voluntarily a lot this e-residency program, which we didn't mention a lot. I think that's all very interesting for many potential entrepreneurs around the world. I can say just a few words about that. Anyone can create a company independent of their nationality in Estonia, and they do not have to be physically in Estonia, but they can benefit from all the infrastructure and everything that they provide. And this is great for people like who live digital nomads lifestyle. So that way, it can be a good idea for people to learn more about that, and I'm more than happy to help people about that, because I went through the same process. And with the community, so far I have been hosting local founders from Estonian ecosystem, and in the future I will also host founders from global community. So if any founder wants to be a speaker in one of the sessions, they can feel free to connect with me through startupgrant.com/Tallinn.
Yeah, and I imagine that's a fairly easy and painless way to get introduced to an entire ecosystem all at once, since it is so focused, right? It's
exactly.
A lot easier to get more traction in doing a presentation with you than trying to go to the San Francisco and be like, yeah, I want to do a quick meeting and meet everybody in San Francisco. So great. Well, thank you so much. Really great pleasure to meet you personally, because I love my fellow travelers so much. And yeah, whatever Yorgo and I can do for you, whatever kind of introductions we can make, however we can help, please reach out.